My name is Laurie Squire. I worked at WOR from 1967 through the mid part of 1980.
My name's Laurie Squire, and I started at WOR Radio pretty much as soon as I got out of school.
I do remember my first encounter, not directly with Gene. We got tickets to see The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. And one of Johnny's guests that night was Gene Shepherd.
I met Gene and Lee, his wife, although at that time it was very hush-hush. We didn't know if they were married, not married.
Gene was doing the initial promotion for God We Trust, All Others Pay Cash. And so we got to be in the audience, saw the whole show and everything else. And the guest that Johnny had on before Gene came out was Victor Borga.
I produced for Gene. I did other work at the station, but then I was lucky enough to be Gene's producer.
As well, we all know, or most of us know, that Gene, when he talks, he wants to be able to tell his story. Well, Victor started interrupting him and throwing one-liners at him.
Gene would come into the office at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The office was the size of a closet.
I was not familiar with the show, but I could see that he was not comfortable in dealing with these interruptions.
He would go through the mail very quickly. Listeners would send him snippets from a newspaper. He'd read, he'd chuckle, he'd put it on his shelf, his very jammed little closet office.
There were stories going around with, the other engineers and other station people, that he was, very difficult to work with and be careful and all this kind of stuff. I didn't have a problem.
With Gene's show, it was a very easy show to do.
Working with Gene for an engineer was depending on the person. There were some people that could do the show, other people, Gene wanted no part of doing the program because the chemistry was wrong. They would not perform like he wanted them to perform.
He was on stage, he was performing. The microphone was his greater audience, but anybody in the control room would be the producer, which would be me, and the engineer.
Gene required full attention because he needed their reaction.
You had to pay attention. He did not like, there were some engineers who were very obviously bored, who would sit there with sunglasses or reading something, and that burned him up.
Because he didn't get the reaction, he didn't know if what he said on the air worked or not.
You had to pay attention and look him in the eyes and react. You had to react. If you didn't react, he was depressed. He looked sad. I got a phone call. My aunt died. How am I supposed to react? I was not happy. Gene actually said, "Come on, Laurie. I know your aunt died, but you have to look at me. You have to react to me." That's how you had to pay attention and react to him.
And I think that was the critical factor. He needed to have a human response because it made things work.
He knew what he wanted that night's show to be.
Most shows you had a rundown sheet of what commercials were going to run in what order and who the guests were, how many microphones were going to be needed to set up for the show and so forth. Whereas Gene's show was a one-on-one and one mic, and that was it, and we had fun.
No, it wasn't rehearsed. There was no script. He did not come into the studio as some other talent would with piles of paper and know exactly what they were doing or read through things. This was all pre-planned in his head, and a lot of it he was winging it, but not really.
No, Gene never had a formal, organized rundown of a show. It was as it happened.
It was magic the way he would weave in the start of a show, and then you'd think he'd be going off on a tangent, but it wasn't a tangent. He would come right back, even if it were the last 20 seconds, come right back to what he had started at the beginning. You had to pay attention, and that was the magic.
Once the newscast was wrapping up, he would be in the studio, in Studio 3, 9 times out of 10, and they would release the Studio 5, which was on the air doing the newscast.
Most people didn't get him. They did not get him. The sales department absolutely did not get him. They did not try to sell a show. There was maybe one salesman named Bob Alden who was a Shepherd fan, who got him, who sold the show.
You get the red light on the console saying, studio's on the air. I hit the theme song and we're off and running.
Gene's relationship to WOR, he really, he always said, they don't understand